Well, thank you very much, Samson. Let me begin by commending the thousands of Ghanaians who took time off their busy schedules to demonstrate. It reflects a certain revulsion, a certain strong condemnation of what is transpiring before us. State capture, public officials who are engaged in clear conflict of interest transactions. I want to salute the chiefs of Ga and La for coming out in their numbers. I was really surprised to see them. Hardly do you see chiefs participate in demonstrations. They would normally just give a blessing and hope that the youth will take on the charge. But in this case, they participated themselves from beginning to the end, led by the La Pa Wulomo of La, Ni Yamu Obroni, the 7th of La, revered Wulomo and all his chief priests who poured libation, asked for the blessing of our ancestors. I want to also celebrate organized labor for joining us, TUC, the Ghana Federation of Labor, the Nurses and Midwives Association, all the political parties, the NDC, the CPP, the PNC, who all came out in their numbers, the Honorable Fifi Kwete and
Arise Ghana.
Arise Ghana, the Ghana Action Network. I want to celebrate all of them, including the youth groups, the Coalition of La Youth Associations, the United Gadangbe Caucus, all of those who came out in their thousands to send a clear message to President Akufo-Addo that we demand that he puts an end to this transaction. It is not in the national interest. And I am glad, Samson, that nobody can accuse me in particular of just waking up to this threat. 16 years ago, I went to the Supreme Court.
You have been accused already that you have been asleep during your tenure by your friend here.
Yes,
that's
clearly
you just woke up to activism.
I mean, it is shocking.
He went in abeyance when he was in government.
It is shocking that he will say that because he knows very well, and he's read all the law reports, I believe, and he knows that in a 6-3 decision, even though I lost, but to the credit of the likes of Atuguba and Sofa Akufu, who later became Chief Justice, they predicted that we will be where we are today, that their colleagues should take a broader view and a nationalistic approach towards this canker. If the Supreme Court, in that case where Jacob Echebilamte sought to purchase his bungalow, because I argue that, look, under the Constitution, if you acquire land and you have a different use of it, it's no longer going to be used as a bungalow for public officials. You now want to make it a private property. You should give it out. And the clear conflict of interest situation. If all ministers before him were buying their bungalows, there will have been none left. You know, but here we are today. We are talking about SSNIT divesting itself of 60% of its shares in. We started at 6 hotels, again in a bizarre and total mutilation of our procurement laws. It moves from 6 to 4, where 4 of the juiciest hotels in the pack are picked. We are saying that this is a clear case of conflict of interest under Article 284 and 287 of the Constitution. We are also saying that the conflict of interest safeguards provided under Articles 78 and 98 of the Constitution, where public officials, MPs, ministers, must go through a process, go to the committee of members holding office. Let the committee really look into your transactions, what you intend to do, to be sure that you will not be caught in a conflict of interest situation.
Yes, the provision says, Article 98, Clause 2, a member of Parliament shall not hold any office of profit or emolument, whether private or public, either directly or indirectly, unless permitted to do so by the Speaker acting on the recommendations of a Committee of Parliament on the grounds that A, holding that office will not prejudice the work of a Member of Parliament, and B, no conflict of interest arises or would arise as a result of the member holding that office. And in Article 78, Clause 3, this is repeated to cover ministers.
Excellent. So in the case of the Honorable Brother Champon, he's both an MP and a minister, and he's caught under those 2 provisions. Diligent checks at the Committee of Members Holding Profit revealed that he's not one of 47 MPs and ministers who went through this requirement. So does not have a certificate from the Speaker to hold an office of profit. And that is why we have gone to Shraj. Now you ask, you've gone to Shraj.
He says he's a non-executive whatever of the company, even though he's the sole shareholder.
He's the sole shareholder. He's the sole beneficial owner. And he's one of 2 directors. He has not relinquished his interest in the company. I did a diligent check. I have all the articles of incorporation from the Registrar of Companies. Okay. So he cannot run away from that. All profits will come to him. Now, Article 284 of the Constitution is very clear. A public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. So you see the standard very high, conflicts or is likely to. And in the classic case of Anani, where this provision really was tested, you know, Shraj delivered a very, very profound decision. And I want to read from page 21 of that Shraj decision in the Anani case. And this is Anna Bosman. The commissioner has held that a public official breaches this provision not only where there is actual conflict of interest, but also where there is a likelihood of conflict of interest, where there is already in existence a personal relationship between a public officer and another person, or between their respective institutions or companies. There is an onerous responsibility on the public officer to ensure that all future transactions between the 2 persons or institutions are conducted with utmost transparency and in such a manner as to avoid suspicion of any improper motive or conduct, unquote. You know, so even suspicion, even if it is indirect, even if it is likely, you know, so these matters, when it comes to good governance, when it comes to transparency, accountability, it's a high test. And that is why we have gone to Shraj. Now, the reason why we are still agitating is because you and I know that Shraj does not have injunction powers. After we went to Shraj on the 17th of May, we intercepted further documents that they were proceeding to do final due diligence under this transaction. And that if care is not taken, we will be presented with a fait accompli. And it wouldn't matter the Shraj decision. You remember even in the Domelevo case, you and your colleagues, civil society, went to court. But by the time the court decision came many months after Domelevo had been removed, that victory, I don't know how you call that kind of victory, Domelevo could not be reinstated and all of that. We do not want that situation because we know that this government has the tendency to act in impunity. Ideally, with the Shraj petition, everybody should back off. But organized labor were told to go and meet the employment minister and the SSNIT board by the president. Surprisingly, when they went for those meetings, it was an attempt to convince them to accept this transaction. So we are continuing with these agitations so that the president and
I thought there's rather a meeting for Tuesday.
Yes, but
next Tuesday.
To meet the president directly.
Okay.
The initial request was to meet the president. The president said that they should go meet the minister and the SSNIT board. So I am glad that we continue with the agitations, and we've presented this petition, a 15-point petition, which was received by the Deputy Chief of Staff on behalf of the President. And our demands are very clear. We want the President to intervene and stop this sale. It's not in the national interest. Labadi Beach Hotel, as we all know, very, very profitable. We've put out the numbers. If you look at their gross profit of last year, 158 million. Operating profit, 58 million. They have declared 55 million. If you look at what they have in their accounts currently, cash in their accounts, is 58.4 million. Very, very profitable hotel. Even the hotels that are struggling, it is an issue of management. We are saying that stop the political appointments and engage a management company, employ the right people who can do a great job. If you employ the right people, in the case of Labadi, as we have seen, paying dividend to government 25 million cedis last year, we can have the success that we are all looking for. And these hotels built by workers' contributions can then help all of us. We are also saying that we want the president to commit that he will sign our private members bill. which Professor Kweku Azai and others are helping us put together, so that public officials will be expressly, because you know they are taking advantage of gray areas and all of that. And this has been going on for too long. And you see the state capture going on all over. I can produce documents here, which is really a worrying trend, and we need to end it. This has led...
Is it not belated? The parliament has less than 6 months. Effectively, you have like some 5 months. And even the campaign periods, you can clearly see. Today, you can't marshal 92 people into the house.
Well, you have a point there.
Why is it that after you were done with the Jacob Lamte case in 2012, you didn't do this now that you are doing it?
Well, we thought that, you know, that also generated quite an uproar. There was an upheaval, and we thought that it will stop and public officials will be minded. But it clearly has reared its ugly head again, and now we want to deal with it once and for all. We believe that...
My point is that you can't get the private members' bill through before this parliament rises.
Well, we have some 5 months. Let's see. We are confident.
Okay.
We are determined to work hard and achieve this.
I see. So let's come to this. What should the president be doing? SSNIT is duly constituted, has a board. The Labadi Beach Hotel has a management. What should the president do? Say, forget all your corporate governance. I'm the president. I say, whether there has been a sale or not, whatever it is, just stop it. What kind of a president is that?
We are not asking the president to do anything which is untoward. The president, remember, at the end of the day, is in charge of all of these organizations. Remember that he appoints the board chair, he appoints majority. The president can actually dissolve this board. He has the final authority in these matters. The president, remember, is the one appointing the CEO of SSNIT. That's why we have even said one of our demands is that they should all be fired for creating this mess.
One has already lost his job, and the suspicion is that it may have been because he had some opposition to this process.
Yeah, very strong opposition. So the president can act. Despite the so-called good governance, you know, best practices. Do you know the president has been appointing MDs of these hotels directly, even without recourse to the board? He's been doing that. So in that same spirit, the president can put his foot down and stop this.